So like we talked about, the frequency is the number of times that a data value occurs. Now the cumulative frequency is the sum of the frequencies of a class and all of the previous classes that came before it. The relative frequency is the percentage of the data that falls into that class. And to calculate that, you would take the frequency and divide it by the sample size. And then lastly, the cumulative relative frequency is the sum of the relative frequencies of a class and all of the previous classes. So we are given this table with different data classes as well as their frequencies. And we are asked to find the cumulative frequency, the relative frequency, and the cumulative relative frequency. So we have a lot of work to do. Our first step is to add up all of the frequencies so that we can know the sample size, so that we can know how many data values we have in total. So if you add up these frequencies, you get 30. So there are 30 total data items. Next, I want to calculate the cumulative frequencies. Now the cumulative frequencies are the sum of the frequencies of a class and all previous classes. So the first class, there are no previous classes because it's the first class. So the cumulative frequency is going to be the same as just the frequency, so 4. For the second class, I want to take the frequency of 6 and add it to the previous one, which is 4. So that would be 10. The cumulative frequency for the 30s would be the 8 plus the previous 10, so 18. For the 40s, it would be the 7 plus the previous 18, so 25. For the 50s, we take 4 plus the previous 25 to get 29. And then lastly, for the 60s, we take the 1 plus the previous 29 to get 30. And the cumulative frequency of your last class should always match your total number of data items. So just to recap, this 18 means that there's 18 items between 10 and 39. This 25 means that there's 25 items between 10 and 49. So it's cumulative. So next we want to find the relative frequency, which again is the frequency divided by the sample size, or the total number of items. So I want to ignore the cumulative frequency column for right now and look at the frequencies. And I want to divide each of these frequencies by 30. And if you are reporting your answer as a fraction, then these would be your answers. If you are reporting them as a decimal, they would be 0.13, 0.20, 0.27, 0.23, 0.13, and 0.03. So these are all rounded to 2 decimal places. Now if you add up all of the relative frequencies, you should get 1. And this 1 represents 100%. So if we add up all of these fractions, we get 30 over 30, which is equal to 1, or 100%. If you add up all of the decimals, we get 0.99. And the only reason why that's not exactly 1 is because of rounding here. So that's okay. Finally, we are calculating the cumulative relative frequency. And that is the sum of the relative frequencies of a class and all of the previous classes that came before it. So for the first one, it's just going to be 0.13. And then I want to add 0.20, which will give me 0.33, and then add 0.27, which is 0.60, and then add 0.23, which is 0.83, and then add 0.13, which will give us 0.96, and then add 0.03, which will give us 0.99, which again is approximately 1. And if you had instead added the fractions instead of the decimals, it would start out as 4 over 30, and then add 6 over 30 to get 10 over 30, and then add 8 over 30 to get 18 over 30, add 7 over 30, we get 25 over 30, add 4 over 30, we get 29 over 30, and then add 1 over 30, and we finally get 30 over 30, which again is 1. So again, that's if you were using the fractions. So here is our entire table.